One of the challenges that I've seen a lot of my customers have is just cutting through the noise and understanding what's important to them around new announcements and message center around things like Copilot and so forth. Says all of that stuff changes and it's like daily we're seeing new stuff come in. So I'm really excited to talk about a message center agent that I found on GitHub and actually ended up talking to the creator here at Microsoft, Mike Francis. One of the things that I kind of first started exploring is the first party agent in the Microsoft Admin Center. So if you go to admin.microsoft.com, there's a Copilot section. So, and that's a first party Copilot agent that you could use to be able to ask things like what are the latest message center posts and so forth. They ask it to how to do things and stuff like that. But when I found this GitHub, I was actually comparing and contrasting the first party versus this message center agent, and they do things a little bit differently. And where I found this one actually having a little bit more, I guess I would say value is really good at understanding the relevant message center post, but it goes a step further and say, great, I like this message center post, create an email that I can draft an email that I can send to this team regarding this, detailing this. So it's a little bit more, I would say, collaborative in that manner where we can continue that conversation. At least that's what in my own testing, that's some of the differences that I've seen between the different agents, but I'm sure down the road, they'll kind of mold each other together. But I really want to show you this. So in this video, I'm going to show you what this message center agent is. And then I'm going to show you how I actually built it. So I'm going to go step by step, following the instructions that Mike Francis laid out, and where you're going to see me deploy this live. So you can do this in your own tenant as well. So I'm in here in Edge in my Copilot URL, and I've got my message center agent over here on the left. So I've already selected that. And right when we boot up, we can kind of see some of the starter prompts here. So this is super helpful and kind of especially for other users being able to understand how they should be able to utilize this agent. So I've already seen some really interesting things like search by message body. So search for anything that says security in the message body. Maybe I want to change that to search for anything that has Copilot in the update. So let's see what that brings out. If I can spell today. So to me, like this does a really good job of kind of reasoning over different message center posts and so forth. And this is using the message center API to be able to pull all that information. So some of the difference that I saw immediately between like what this is doing and what the message center, the admin center agent does is it's just there's a little bit more guts to it. I would say like seeing the creation dates, details, and so forth. It's just I would say a little bit more at a glance type of information on here. So this is cool. And then I've also got some of these additional things at the bottom that Copilot is saying, hey, we can do some additional things here. So show more messages with Copilot, filter these by major change only. Oh, let's see what that one does. I'm kind of learning this in real time with you guys as well, but I've experimented with a little bit because I've deployed it a couple different times to make sure I can do it correctly before I show you guys how to do it. But some cool stuff there. So let's say I'm just going to pick one out. So this one actually might be relevant because of the self-service stuff. So draft an email. So this is where this is really cool because now we can actually utilize Copilot to do things for us. So now it's generating some of that information that, hey, this could be super relevant because this self-service thing, maybe we need to turn it off because we don't want business units just purchasing Copilot outside of IT because we have certain processes that we need to do. So we want to turn off self-service purchase. So maybe that's important to you guys. So we can utilize this agent to help us be able to draft emails and figure out what's really impactful for there. So one really cool thing that I wanted to show you that this agent does is its ability to highlight citations. So this is a declarative agent. And if you put in your prompt to say, so meshes with Copilot in the message body, one thing you'll notice, you've got these little ones and these twos down here. So if you hover over them, they actually highlight citations. So they show additional details when a roadmap ID is provided, and you can navigate to that roadmap for additional info. So I can easily hit this roadmap details and it brings me to the Microsoft 365 roadmap ID. So we can easily see that additional info around some of those roadmap things. So I thought that was a really cool thing that this agent does on top of everything else. One of my favorite things to do with agents is just ask the agent what it can do. So what are some prompts I can ask? And I like to do that because it'll give me some like foundation of like thinking of, okay, these are some of the prompts that I can ask this agent, and then I can change these based on how I want, based on my needs and relevancy. So maybe what are the latest updates in the Microsoft Admin Center? What are the latest updates with M365 Copilot, or maybe Copilot Chat, or maybe service outages or something like that. So this just gives me a good idea, some ways to be able to formulate some of the prompts that I want to enter into this agent. But there we go. Our next step is here. Let's build this thing. All right, let's get started. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go through the GitHub together, and you're going to see me me live build this. So I'm just going to go straight through instructions, follow all the instructions, all the PowerShell scripts and all of that. And we're just going to build this live so you can be able to see everything that I do to help you as you look to build this agent out as well for your tenant. So what I'll say is I've done this a couple times. So I've got some of the modules that are in PowerShell already downloaded. So some of the things that you might see might be a little faster than what you will see because I've done this before. I've done some of the modules. I've pre-logged in through some of this stuff as well. So mileage may vary a little bit depending on what you have already installed if you've used the Entra module before and stuff like that. So, but here we are at the GitHub. What I'll say, I've done this a couple times and it's not complicated at all. A couple months ago, we actually built a lot of this in Entra, but now we're doing it all in PowerShell. It's a lot easier. So, like you saw before, this is what the message center agent will look like. Some of the things I want to point out before we get started is some of the prerequisites. So there are some required roles for this. So I'm going to open this up in a new tab and we'll go through some of those required roles. So for the app registration piece, we're going to need either a global administrator, application administrator, or a cloud application administrator. The recommended least privilege role that we can use is the application administrator. So, but if you've got global admin or if you know your global admin, I'd probably tag with them to try to help with this just to make sure that we don't run into any problems down the road here. But if you've got those, if you're using PIM, make sure to activate those. And then also when we get to the agent provisioning, so the provisioning the agent into production, we're going to either need a Teams administrator or a global admin because this agent is going to be visible within the Teams admin center. So you go to Teams app and you'll be able to search for the message center, and then you can deploy that to whatever users or security groups that you want. But yes. Oh, also, Teams developer portal. This is where we can see the applications in the developer portal. So you'll need a Teams or a global admin as well there. But those are some of the roles that are going to be needed for deployment. For usage, this is important. For usage, you either need a global admin, a message center reader, service support administrator, or service administrator. I also say a global reader will work in this circumstance as well. But this is really important. If your team is going to utilize this agent, you're going to see that they're going to need to sign into the message center. And in order to sign in, you're going to need their role will need to be one of these or a global reader as well. So just beware of that. Like if you don't have any of these roles and you look to sign in, you're going to get an error with that. So the actual uses of the agent, you want to make sure that your teams have the proper admin privileges to read message center. All right. With that, let's go back to the root here. One other thing is we're going to need to make sure that we have enabled custom app uploading on our tenant as well. This is required. You'll error out if this happens. So if you don't know where that's at, I'm going to head over to the Microsoft Admin Center and I'm going to go to Team Apps and then set up policies, I believe. Yes, I'm right. And then I'm going to go to global. So you want to look at your global and I've got upload custom apps here. So you want to turn that on. If it's off, turn it on. Depending on how large your tenant is, if it's off and you look to turn it on, it could take up to 12, maybe 24 hours for that to actually complete. So just an FYI, if it's off and you look to turn it on, wait a little bit before you go through this whole process here. But you're going to need to make sure that's on. What this does, it just allows those third-party applications like we're building now to be able to upload to your tenant. There's a lot of Microsoft Learn documentation on this. Hit up Copilot to learn more about custom uploading custom apps, but just an FYI there. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. So our first thing is we need to clone a repository and put it somewhere on our desktop. So I'm going to go all the way up here, and to get our repository, we're going to hit this clone and we're going to download the zip. So that'll take a second, and I'm going to go to my download folder now. So I've got Message Center right there. I'm going to actually put it on my C drive. I want to put it somewhere that I'm going to use. So here's my C drive, and I'm going to drop it into, where's my dev vault? There it is. All right, nothing's in there right now, so I'm going to drop that over here, and I'll move that. I'm going to go ahead and extract that so I don't have to do it later down the road. All right, sweet. So that is extracted. I've done this a couple times, so I know what the next step is going to be. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go into this and go into the Message Center admin main, and I'm going to go to the prereqs folder. And what I want to do here is I need to copy this location because we're going to need to change directory to that. So I've already copied it, but I'm a little ahead of you guys here. So let's go back down here. Ah, darn. man, I forgot about this step. See, even I made mistakes here, but we actually, before I change directory, we need to set the execution policy. So what this script does, what this PowerShell does is it allows us to run script commands. So I'm going to go over to PowerShell. I'm just going to put that script in. I think I've done it before, so I won't need to hit yes. But if in your case, you most likely, oh yeah, it's there. So you're going to need to hit yes, and that will allow you to do things. All right, now we're going to change directories. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy the shortcut again, and I'm going to go CD. I know you can do set location and stuff like that. This is just how I know to do things. I am not a dev by any means, so I've just kind of learned things as I go. But there it is. I'm in my new directory here under the prereqs folder. So let's go back to the instructions. Set execution policy plus yes. I've now changed the prereqs folder and run the install node ATK PS1. So as you can see here, it kind of took me a second to kind of figure out what's going on, but we changed directory. Now we need to do this install node PS1. And what this is going to do is going to install the node version, so the latest, and it's also going to install the Microsoft 365 Agents Toolkit. This is, if you're not familiar with the Agents Toolkit, this is kind of a rebrand from the Teams Toolkit. This is kind of the rebrand for that, but this is going to install that. So because we're going to be utilizing this toolkit to push this agent over to our tenant here. So this is an important one. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I've installed this, but pay attention to this /. We're also going to need that. So I'm in my directory. I see that here. So I'll go ahead and install this now and hit that. It's going to, yes. So I'm going to do the run once. And I've already installed Node already. So like I mentioned, I've done this a couple times. So some of these modules are already installed, but so it's already, if you don't have Node installed, it would go through that process. That's probably going to take about 2, maybe 3 minutes to install Node, or longer depending on connection and all of that. And then once Node is done, then it starts installing the 365 Agents Toolkit. So it's already installed in here. So it's going through an update. So this usually takes about 2 to 3 minutes sometimes as well. These warnings are all expected behavior. If we kind of look at the documentation here, we see that some of those warnings are there as well. So that's all proper behavior. Don't worry too much. And we're just kind of sit and let this thing do its work. Even with it installed on here, it's checking through all this stuff. So it usually takes about a minute or two for this to go through here. So now you can use the toolkit. So awesome. That's done. I didn't have to do any post fast forwarding for everybody. So cool. All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to register the application in Entra and enable OAuth 2.0. So this is really cool because the prior instructions, we actually had to do this all manually. I had to go into the Entra Admin Center, and kind of build all this out myself manually. So this script kind of does everything for us. So I'm just going to copy this script. And what you're going to see is when we put this, it's going to create this, and it's also going to spit out a client secret, ID, tenant, and app name, and so forth. So this is something that we're going to need to copy because we're going to need this later. But this is what this script is going to do. All right. So I'm still in my prereqs folder. So I'm just going to create this, and I'm going to run this. And this will take, it's not as long as installing the toolkit. So, but it's going to take a minute or so to kind of build that out. While that's building, I'm going to open up my text pad. All right, creating new application registration. Sweet. All this is expected here. So what we've got here is our tenant ID and so forth. So there we go. I'm going to copy this because I know I'm going to need that later. So I'm going to go back to my notepad here. I'm going to put that down here. I'm going to eliminate the quotations just so it's easier on me down the road. Cool. All right. So we've got that. Our next step here is let's go back to our instructions here. And now what we're going to do, we're actually going to close this PowerShell window down, and then we're going to open a new one. And when we open the new one, we're going to change the directory to the root folder. So instead of the prereqs folder, we're changing it to the root folder. So let me close this thing down. I'm sure I could just change directory here, but we're just going to follow the instructions as is. So open a PowerShell. I always run it as administrator. Cool. And I'm going to go back to my folder because I'm going to need that shortcut here. All right, message center main. So I'm going to copy that shortcut, and I'm going to change my directory here. All right, so now I'm in my root folder of that as the instructions stated I need to be. So our next thing here is we're going to copy this PowerShell script. And again, this is going to, what we're going to do here is once we do this, we're going to hit yes, it's going to run that. And then it's going to ask for our client ID and our secret. So let's go ahead and do that now. Let's see the magic work here. executing policy. I've had some customers that have run this and we've got stuck like at 17% and we got an error or some sort. I haven't exactly figured that out. It might be something with the node version. So maybe downgraded node 16 may work, or there it's mentioned something about a TLS and SSL. So there might be something on the network on the network as well. So if you run into that, put it, feel free to reach out to me. But at this point where it's asking for the client ID. So I'm going to open up my notepad and I'm going to get that client ID here. And then we're going to go back to PowerShell. Command V is not going to work really well right here. What does work for me is hitting the right click button, and that will paste it in. And now it's asking for our client secret. So I'll paste that in there. And if you try to do this and try to copy my client secret and stuff like that, I'm already killing this after this. So I'm going to uninstall the agent. So none of this information is going to be relevant here. But all right. So now it's creating everything that we need. Going through the and what we're going to see here is this: once it's completed, we're going to be able to go back to we'll actually be able to see the agent for testing in Copilot. And then also what we're also going to do, I'm going to go into the Entra admin center so you can see the app registration. And also I'm going to go into the developer portal so you can see that application there as well before we kind of go into Copilot to see everything. So, hey, post edit Mike here. And I wanted to mention a comment around the security around all of this because we are messing with client secrets and client IDs and so forth. So I had a quick conversation with Mike Francis around this because there are some best practices around Azure tokens and stuff like that. And he had some good comments that I wanted to kind of give to you all as well. So it's a good thing to kind of point out that the Agents Toolkit and the Microsoft 365 Agent Runtime includes mechanisms to keep secrets safe with no developer coding required. So during the provisioning process, the developers ask for the client ID and the client secret used by the application registration to authenticate the user. These credentials are stored safely and securely in the Microsoft 365 runtime environment and not stored in any source code or repository. Additionally, the developer is only asked for this once during the provisioning or deployment process. After that, the agent can be updated without having to provide these credentials. So just wanted to add that additional comment on there since we are working with client IDs and secrets and some of the security things around that. All right, back to the video. Create environment. So it looks like everything is created. So here's I'm gonna actually let's first go into Copilot. I'm excited here. Let's test this out. So got to refresh it here, but Message Center should pop up. Hopefully, there it is. So Message Center's there. Now, before I start playing with that, I'm going to go and show you what happened, some of the things that happened in the background while we were running some of those PowerShell scripts. So I'm going to have the Entra site. I'm going to refresh this. And then we're going to go to, I have these already pinned here, but app registration and enterprise app. So when we ran that script that created the client ID and secret, it created those app registrations, enterprise apps. So I'm going to go into app registrations here. If you don't have it pinned, just search for it. And then we're going to select all applications and we should see a message center agent.reg. There it is. So it automatically created that. That's where we have our client ID and so forth in there. Additionally, I also want to show you in the Teams Dev Center, we have that agent as well. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh this. And you're going to see that the Message Center agent is here as well. So we can go in here and kind of look at all of the different things around the agent as well. But just kind of for your information, where all of this stuff kind of lives once we deploy it, it's in there. All right, so we're now into the Message Center agent that we selected over here on the left-hand side. We can select any of these kind of immediate actions right here. So I'm going to select with security update here, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit that. What's going to happen now is it's going to try to do that, but it's going to ask for us to sign in. So this is where it comes back to whoever is using this agent after we publish to production and send it to users. Whoever is using this agent needs to have one of those 4 admin privileges, or a global reader will work as well. So I'm logging in as my global admin to make things easier. So I'm going to hit allow, and then there's going to be a pop-up window for me to log in here. So this is all expected behavior. There we go. So there's my mod. Sweet. I don't need any passwords or anything like that because I'm using SSO here, but voila, there we go. And our Message Center agent is now, it's in Copilot. We haven't actually pushed it production yet, but now it's in our specific Copilot for us to test and so forth. So this is where you want to do the proper testing, ask the questions, make sure that everything's working. And if everything looks good, then we have one more script that we need to do to push this out to our tenant for production. So let's go back to GitHub. So all of that works great. As expected, now we can test the agent. We've gone through that. Now we say it's all works. Let's actually publish this agent. So I'm going to take this script now. I'm going to go back to PowerShell and I'm just going to paste that in there and I'm going to push it into production. Cool. So it is done. All of that looks good. All right. So now what we can do is we can go to Teams Center, Teams Admin Center, and I'm going to refresh this because that's best practice whenever we make changes. And I'm going to go over to Team Apps. So it looks like I've got a little notification here that something's up. So I'm going to go to Manage Apps, and I'm going to search for Message Center. And there it is. It's got the logo and everything. Right now, it's in block status, which is expected behavior. When we have any kind of new application or agent that we publish in a Teams, it's going to be in a block status. So this is where I can go into and publish it, or I can reject it. If you reject it, that's out of there, and you'll have to republish it as well. But I'm going to go ahead publish. Give that a second. All right, sweet. I'm gonna actually search for Message Center again because then we can also go through the actions of editing who gets access to that. So I've got a nice purple button there. I'm just gonna go back into the agent because users and groups, and right now it's available to everyone. So if I want to change that, I can go into edit availability and then specify everyone, specific users or groups, or no one. So we can manage that as well. Another area that you can manage this is directly within the Microsoft Admin Center. So I'm going to refresh that, agent connectors, and I should be able to search for Message Center here. There it is. So why this is important is obviously we need a Teams admin to be able to manage those agents directly within the Teams admin center. However, one of the new roles that are available is the AI administrator. So if you're an AI administrator, you can manage all of the agents directly within the Microsoft admin center under Copilot section right here. So Copilot agents connectors, and then we can see all of our agents here. So this is super helpful if we're pushing those out. We can manage it in Teams as well as manage it directly within the Microsoft admin center. So depending on how your organization works and manage those agents, but this is where we can manage as well, and has all of the same block and deploy, and we can manage who and scale those depending on the user as well. So just another way to kind of manage those agents, but that is how we publish the Message Center agent. Now, what happens if something goes wrong? Maybe we published it and we're testing it. It's not properly working. There was an instance when I was working on it and I actually got it into my Copilot and I was using it, but when I went to authenticate, it just gave me an error and I couldn't figure it out. One of the reasons was it was a user error on my end, and kind of embarrassed by it. But when I downloaded the actual package, I'm like, I want to work on it in my Mac and on my Windows. So I put it in my OneDrive instance, and I was working on that through via OneDrive. And I don't know why it was local OneDrive, but it just never worked. I don't know why, but when I moved it to my C drive and actually went through the publication of everything, it worked. So that's a user error on me. I'm learning things as I go, but if you're running into those errors, what happens? I need to start fresh. And if we need to start fresh, it's not hard to do. Some of the things I'll show you what you're going to need to do. So one of the first things you're going to need to do is you're going to need to uninstall this Message Center agent from here. So once you hit uninstall, that's gone. So that's one of the first steps you need to do, but you're going to also need to do two other steps. We're going to need to go back to the Entra Admin Center, and we're going to need to go to app registrations, all applications, and we're going to need to go into Message Center agent.reg, and we're going to need to delete it from here. So that's another step you're going to need to do. And then the last step you're going to need to do is also go into the Dev Center and then delete that. You can do that by going over here, hitting the action, and hitting delete. So to kind of start fresh here, uninstall the agent from your Copilot, whoever is testing it, delete delete the app registration, which will also delete the enterprise app as well. And then also go into the Teams Dev Center and delete the Message Center agent from there. Once you do that, you're good to go, and you can go through the process again. But that is how we install the Message Center agent. Also uninstall if needed. But I hope that was helpful. This is a really cool agent to kind of get up and running with. Check out the GitHub here as well. Mike Francis, who is the creator of this, he works here at Microsoft. There's also some additional things. So if we want to change any of the those bubbles or those starter prompts that they are called, if you want to change any of those, I believe this all goes through. Yeah, here's the starter prompt. So if you want to change any of those, that's all on the code base. So this is where you would need to open that up in Visual Studio Code, or and kind of change some of those starter prompts and so forth. So just follow the directions there. But that's how you get the agent up and running for you really quickly. Well, not really quickly, but that's the process for getting this Message Center agent up and running. So I hope that is helpful for you, and I hope that helps with kind of getting through some of the noise and understanding what's important to you and your organization around different Message Center posts. And have fun with this agent. Do some really cool stuff. I would love to, hit me up with some cool things that you're doing with it. I would love to see some of those things. But with that, I hope you guys have an awesome day. Go push some buttons. Bye.